So the title of my message is Awestruck. Whoa. Nice. Okay. So what is awe, right? When we talk about awe, what is awe? So dictionary defines awe as an overwhelming feeling of reverence, okay, which means deep respect, admiration, fear, etc., produced by that which is grand, sublime, extremely powerful. So one of the things that I'm always in awe is by how big God is. So have you ever wondered how big God is? Yes. Okay, so let me just show you, okay, with the help of Google Earth. So this is City Hub 2, okay, where all of us is right now. Okay, approximately 10 meters distance, okay? Okay, then next we have Singapore in 130 kilometers distance, okay, from the top. So you probably can guess where we are, right? I hope. Yeah. Okay. Okay, let's go a little bit further. Okay, the Earth, 30,000 km above. Okay, so you probably couldn't even see where the little red dot is. Okay, you can guess. Okay, but it's not there. And let's go even further. So in 1977, NASA launched Voyager 1. Okay, it's a space probe. And in 1990, 23 years since its launch, it traveled a total of 6 billion kilometers. So here's a picture of Earth taken by Voyager 1, 6 billion kilometers away. All right. Okay, we put a tag there so that you won't miss it, okay? So that's where we are, okay? Right now, the evolution, we are there. And for us, everyone, we are there as well. All our worries, our problems, right? Our midlife crisis, it's all there, okay? So how big is God? Okay, so in Isaiah 66:1, right, it says, the Lord says, heaven is my throne, the earth is my footstool. So yep, God is chilling right here looking at the view. So to God, we are just a tiny dot within the little red dot, right? And you think that's it? No, okay. Psalms 8, it says, when I look up at your skies, at what your fingers made, the moon and the stars that you set firmly in place, what are human beings that you think about them? What are human beings that you pay attention to them? Wow. Our God is a big God. He has the entire universe to take care of. But God still thinks of us, the tiny little human beings, right? The dot within the dots. So I don't know about you, but I'm pretty amazed and in awe of God. So isn't that amazing? So we feel God when we encounter something with qualities so extraordinary that we cannot comprehend it. And we often express it in words like wow, or we go jaw drop, or your eyes go like open very wide, right? So I thought to show you a funny video about how babies experience awe when they go through tunnels. So let's roll the video in 3, 2, 1. All right, so this is just so cute. Now I'm waiting for the moment Zack goes through a tunnel. So when the car hits the tunnel, right, their whole environment change. And those expressions you saw are all expressions. Where they go like, wow, something crazy just happened that has never happened before. And also, there are many benefits in feeling awe. Okay, studies have shown awe leads to an improve in positive emotions in our lives, including happiness, improve connectedness and life satisfaction, improve sense of purpose, wonder and inspiration, improve generosity and helpfulness, improve physical health and life expectancy, improve mood, appetite, sleep, and memory through serotonin and dopamine hormonal balance. Okay, if you don't know what that means, go and listen to UCH. And also, it leads to a decrease in negative emotions, including depression, a decrease in self-focused mindset, okay, all about me, okay, decrease that. It decreased fixation on daily stressors. It decreased inflammation, decreased pro-inflammatory cytokines, whatever that means to you, okay? It decreased in risk of heart diseases, type 2 diabetes, arthritis, and Alzheimer's disease. And all also makes us feel humble, thereby lessening selfish tendencies like entitlement, arrogance, and narcissism. Powerful, eh? So, we can only have awe in God when we encounter Him, when we encounter His greatness, right? Awestruck, to let His presence fill us with awe. So today, I want to share with you 3 ways on how we can experience awe in our relationship with God. So to experience awe in God, we need to, number 1, be present. One of the famous stories in the Bible is Moses and the burning bush. So Exodus 3, it says, Moses was shepherding the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian. He led the flock to the west end of the wilderness and came to the mountain of God, Horeb. The angel of God appeared to him in flames of fire blazing out of the middle of a bush. He looked. The bush was blazing away, but it didn't burn up. Moses said, "What's going on here? I can't believe this. Amazing. Why doesn't the bush burn up?" I just want to pause here for a moment, right? Have you ever wondered who was Moses talking to? His sheep, is it? But I think he was so marveled by what was happening, right, that he was actually doing a verbal reality check on himself. Like, amazing. Why it doesn't burn up? And in verse 4, it says, God saw that he stopped and to look. God called to him from out of the bush, "Moses, Moses." He said, "Yes, I'm right here." God said, "Don't come any closer. Remove your sandals from your feet. You're standing on holy ground." Then he said, "I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob." Moses hid his face, afraid to look at God. So Moses was initially busy taking care of his father-in-law's sheep. It's a very important task. But when Moses came into a moment of awe and wonder, what did he do? He stopped to look. Being present begins by pausing. So in 2017, a group of us had the opportunity to head to Sydney to attend the Hillsong Conference. So one of the days, we decided to head to Sydney Harbour National Park, was a coastal park, to do quiet time. So we decided to walk one full round around the park. It was just 1 km. And while we were walking by the cliffs, right, we noticed a small opening between the trees. And when we looked through the opening, we could actually see ocean. And the thing was that there wasn't a proper path leading to the opening. But you know what? Being a tourist, right, we cannot miss this opportunity. So we decided to go and take a look. We did some light climbing, okay? But man, the view was amazing. Is it there? All right. So, yeah, from my phone. Yes, okay. So there were literally no objects on the ocean, and you could even see the horizon, right? Unlike you go to East Coast Park, you see a lot of ships and all that. So first response, like a typical Singaporean, the first thing I did was to snap photos, right? To capture the moment and maybe, upload to our Instagram, #OceanView, right? Yeah. No, but while I was doing that, I felt the need to pause and to enjoy the moment. Not just being busy about other things. And it was in that moment when I paused, I could feel God speaking to me that how His love for me was even wider than this ocean. And it was that moment I truly felt awe, and I could still remember how that experience feels like today. Friend, have you taken time to pause in your life? We are trained by society to live with endless pursuit of chasing after the next big thing. Right? Our parents tell us to score well for your PSLE to get to a good secondary school. And after that is your O and A levels, then getting a university degree, then getting a high-paying job, or earning more money to go for expensive weekend cafes or overseas trips, or to work hard and earn more in order to retire well. I would say some of these things are important considerations in our life. But often when we arrive at a later stage, when we are 60, 70 years old, we look back and we realize, we have all these achievements, but we didn't enjoy life itself. Because we stopped being present. We stopped living. And the same goes for our relationship with God. We begin to treat God himself as a peripheral. We chase after the things that God can do for us, for the next blessing, and the next blessing, and the next blessing. And we don't pause enough to be present with him. Listen, don't turn your personal relationship with God into a transactional relationship where we connect to him only when we can get something back. We shouldn't treat God like our ATM. Right? For the youth here, don't pause and pray to God only when your exams are nearing. And for him to bless you, I want to score A's, I want to pass my exam. And then once the exam are over, your relationship with God takes a back seat. Similarly, for the adults here, don't pause and pray only when you need financial blessings. Learn to pause and be present for God regularly. Listen, God is always present. God is constantly engaging us with his presence. So how can we respond to God is by first pausing. And being present isn't a state of doing nothing. Being present requires us to pay attention. So 1 Kings 19, then Elijah, was told, go, stand on the mountain at attention before God. God will pass by. A hurricane wind ripped through the mountains and shattered the rocks before God, but God wasn't to be found in the wind. After the wind, an earthquake, but God wasn't in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, fire, but God wasn't in the fire. And after the fire, a gentle and quiet whisper. When Elijah heard the quiet voice, he muffled his face with his great cloak, went to the mouth of the cave, and stood there. God told Elijah to pay attention, and that's what Elijah did. He was present, and he was paying attention to what's happening. And it's pretty incredible. The wind, earthquake, and fire are really three spectacular phenomena. Elijah could easily be distracted, but Elijah stayed focused. Because paying attention requires us to stay focused. So for all the young people here, we are living in a time where the speed of information is moving really fast, almost instantly, right? Our attention span is so short as how we view our IG stories, our TikTok videos. We check out very fast. And that's why a lot of brands out there curate their content to capture attention within the first 3 seconds. That's how short our attention span is. And if we don't like the content, or if the content is boring within the first 3 seconds, we swipe away. And this behavior has been so ingrained in us that we find it difficult to be present in the moment and to stay focused. And that's why many of us, during the 6 weeks media detox, we struggled initially to even read past one page of book or do things that require us to stay focused. And what happens when we can't stay focused is that we will almost always easily give in to the first, the loudest, the most eye-catching stimulus. So if you and I were in Elijah's situation, we would probably think that, wow, God was in the wind. No, God was in the earthquake. Hey, maybe God was in the fire. We would have missed the opportunity to encounter God. So sitting here, you say you want to find awe in God and have a deep encounter with him. Be present. Be deliberate in putting aside your distractions every time you come into the presence of God. During gathering, during your quiet time. In your personal quiet time, some practical things you can do. Switch your phone to airplane mode or put it away. You don't want your phone to be ringing non-stop during worship, or you are tempted to check your phone, to scroll Instagram while you are reading the Bible. And that being said, try to use a physical Bible. Right? Why be tempted when you can have a book here with you? Another thing is, what you can do is you find a conducive space to pray. Right? If you find it hard to focus while sitting on your bed, then move to your desk or stand. Or you can make use of meditative practices such as box breathing, centering prayer to help you focus better. Make being present an attitude you always come to God with. So number one, be present by pausing, paying attention, and staying focused. Number two, be active in connecting to God. So both Moses and Elijah, in their relationship with God, had more than just one encounter, one moment of awe. Throughout their lives, they had many, many encounters with God. So in the book of Exodus alone, the phrase, "the Lord said to Moses," appeared 47 times. In 1 Kings alone, Elijah had encountered God at least 15 times. You see, our relationship with God cannot be based on one encounter alone. It is like your relationship with your best friend, right? The first time you meet them, it was awesome. You get to know more about them. You find out what each other like or dislike. You add each other on Instagram. You become friends. But if you just stop there and don't make any effort to meet up, to chat, the relationship will grow stale. And even over time, both of you will drift apart. But if you're actively connecting with your friend, you spend more time with them, you grow closer to each other. And over time, both of you become best friends. And the same principle applies in our relationship with God. We need to have an active connection with Him. Make time to do your quiet time. So over the past 2 years, I struggled in my personal relationship with God. Yes, your leaders are humans too, we struggle, okay? Now, my last encounter with God was before the pandemic. And ever since, my relationship with God was based on that last encounter. And when the pandemic came, my life was flipped upside down. I was coping with the measures that is always changing. I was reworking a lot of rhythms in my life. I struggled to pray and to hear from God for close to 2 years. My relationship with God was at rock bottom. I stopped having a connection with God. From being an intimate, personal relationship, God became just a thing in my life. And it was only during a recent gathering when I was worshiping, I suddenly had a vision of an iPhone and the battery was flat. And I felt God telling me that, I am the iPhone and I need to charge my battery to connect to God again. And I also felt God telling me that, it cannot be a one-time charge. In order for me to always be in connection with God, I have to charge regularly. And what it meant was to keep having fresh encounters with Him. So John 15, verse 4, it says, "Remain in me and I will remain in you. A branch can't produce fruit by itself, but must remain in the vine. Likewise, you can't produce fruit unless you remain in me." For us to keep growing as a Christian, we need to remain connected to God. So if you are like me, your last encounter with God was a long time ago, I want to encourage you, plug into the presence of God. And there are plenty of opportunities for you to do that. During the worship time in gathering, doing your quiet time, reading your Bible when you are praying. And for some of us who are struggling to make time to pray or to read, reach out to a friend. Okay, practical tip. Reach out to a friend. Ask them to be your buddy and to keep you accountable. And for some of us, maybe you have tried getting into the presence of God, but you still couldn't connect to Him. Listen, it is normal. We all get a little rusty sometimes. But keep pressing in. Keep trying. Don't give up. And I want to encourage you by looking at 2 instances where Elijah and the people around him encountered God by pressing in. So to give you some context before we read 1 Kings, Israel was ruled by King Ahab, and he led Israel to turn away from God to worship an idol named Baal. So God was upset and started a drought in the land where the Israelites reside. And on the 3rd year of the drought, God told Elijah that God will be sending rain when Elijah confronts King Ahab and his prophets to turn the Israelites back to God. So 1 Kings 18, verse 32, he built the stones into the altar in honor of God. Then Elijah dug a fairly wide trench around the altar. He laid firewood on the altar, cut up the ox, put it on the wood, and said, "Fill 4 buckets with water and drench both the ox and the firewood." Then he said, "Do it again." And they did. Then he said, "Do it a 3rd time." And they did it a 3rd time. The altar was drenched and the trench was filled with water. When it was time for the sacrifice to be offered, Elijah the prophet came out and prayed. And verse 38, immediately the fire of God fell and burned up the offering, the wood, the stones, the dirt, and even the water in the trench. All the people saw it happen and fell on their faces in awed worship, exclaiming, God is the true God, God is the true God. So this is a significant moment. The Israelite was facing drought for 3 years. And more than just water, the Israelites were also dry spiritually. They had not encountered God for 3 years. Still, Elijah told them to pour what was the most precious resource, water, on the altar. And not just one time, which was just 4 buckets of water, but 3 times, 12 full buckets of water. Elijah wanted them to trust God and to keep trusting and to keep pressing in. After getting them to press in 3 times, Elijah prayed and God answered. And after 3 years, the Israelites finally encountered God again. They were no longer in the spiritual rut. But it isn't over. God's promise of sending rain hasn't come to pass yet. So 1 Kings 18, a few lines down, 42, Elijah went up to the top of Mount Carmel. He bowed down to the ground and put his face between his knees. He said to his assistant, please get up and look toward the sea. So the assistant did so. He said, I don't see anything. 7 times Elijah said, do it again. Right? I see you do it again. 7 times. The 7th time, the assistant said, I see a small cloud the size of a human hand coming out from the sea. And after a while, the sky became dark with clouds and the wind came out with a huge rainstorm. So this time around, it wasn't just 3 times. Elijah told his assistant to go 7 times. You know, if you and I are Elijah's assistant, we will be so frustrated and probably give up on the 3rd or 4th time. But we got to keep pressing in, to keep trusting, to keep trying. And it doesn't matter if it's 7 times, 10 times, 20 times, 50 times. Be active in your connection with God. Keep on pressing in. In your quiet time, you know what? When you reach the final song of your playlist, but you have not connected to God yet, we'll keep going at it. Whatever it takes, loop the song or pray in tongues, do whatever it takes to connect to God. So be active in connecting to God, keep pressing in. And finally, be a part of God's community. So Acts 2, verse 42, it says, the believers devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching, to the community, to their shared meals, to their prayers. A sense of awe came over everyone. God performed many wonders and signs through the apostles. All the believers were united and shared everything. They would sell pieces of property and possessions and distribute the proceeds to everyone who needed them. Every day they met together in the temple and ate in their homes. They shared food with gladness and simplicity. They praised God and demonstrated God's goodness to everyone. The Lord added daily to the community those who were being saved. So it says here that the believers devoted themselves. In the CB version, it says committed themselves to the community. Listen, we're not meant to do life alone. God created you and I to belong to a community where we do life together, where we help out one another. Community is a space we can offer our help and ask for help. So think of our community as a forest, okay? And we are trees. A tree can only be as strong as the forest that surrounds it. So in the study of trees in forests, scientists found that individual trees of the same species are connected to each other through their root system. And through this root system, trees can communicate with each other through the fungal networks around the root tips. Trees also communicate by giving off a warning gas to neighboring trees about nearby threats. They warn each other of pests, drought, and disease, allowing other trees to make changes to better withstand such dangers. And not only that, but trees use their root systems to help other trees in times of need by exchanging nutrients and sharing water. Young trees under the heavy shade of mature trees can't photosynthesize properly. So the mother tree or the mature tree suckle their young by sharing nutrients through the root system. The same principle applies to our community. EVO is a community where we help each other grow deeper in our relationship with God. So for those of us who are struggling to make time to pray or read the Bible, you know what? Just go up to a friend, ask for help. Or be a good friend. If you notice your friends are struggling, offer help. And for those of us who are more mature in our relationship with God, offer help to those who are newer in their relationship with God. Guide them. Pray with them. Another way we can help one another is by sharing our testimonies. So for those of you who are newer here, testimonies are stories about our life with God. So Acts 47, it says, they praised God and demonstrated God's goodness to everyone. So sometimes it's not that God or church is no longer awesome or inspiring. It's we humans easily forget what God has done or what people has done in our life. And thus we lost our awe in the process. Hence, we need testimonies to remind us. So Eugene Peterson, translator of the Message Bible, puts it nicely. Life is the realization of details that all connect organically, personally, specifically. Names and fingerprints, street numbers and local weather, lamb for supper and the flat tire in the rain. God reveals himself to us not in the metaphysical formulation of a cosmic fireworks display, but in the kind of stories we use to tell our children who they are and how to grow up as human beings. Tell our friends who we are and what it's like to be human. Story is the most adequate way we have of accounting for our lives. And it is only in a community that our testimonies have the power to change lives. So I want to share a story about Darius. He's probably watching online. So recently, the school holidays have started and the youth, we have started doing quiet time. And this week, Darius was leading one of the quiet time and he shared this very powerful of his encounter with God. So I'm just going to read it word for word, okay? Not just a quick one, okay? So, a story that I would like to share about from my personal experience would be that during June, I had my first 21-day fast. And in one of the first few sessions where we had to imagine Jesus in front of us and opening his palm, the first thing that I saw was a pouch filled with gold coins when Jesus opened his palm. And God spoke to me about how I needed to be more kind and generous in my daily life. Since then, I have been trying to achieve this goal of being able to treat others better so they can feel happier. Every day, I try to live life while following the sentence, treat others how you want to be treated. And after the 21-day fast, I was more aware of how I treated others and make sure I met their needs in their life to the best of my ability. Today, I've noticed how I have changed in my thinking and actions. So I believe that we can also go the extra mile to help our friends and be there for them as much as we can. Wow, now aren't you inspired by his sharing? No, it inspired me to be in awe of God because I could see how evident God is in Darius' life. Hebrews 10, verse 24, it says, "And let us consider each other carefully for the purpose of sparking love and good deeds. Don't stop meeting together with other believers, which some people have gotten into the habit of doing. Instead, encourage each other, especially as you see the day drawing near." You see, each and every one of us here are important in the community, in EVO. Our personal encounters with God can help inspire and encourage others to do the same. And you don't need the stage to share your testimony. The most powerful testimonies are often the ones you share during hangouts with your friends, or when you're just catching up with your friend, texting them or in the call. Acts 2:47 in the Message version, it says, "People in general liked what they saw. Every day, their number grew as God added those who were saved." Being in a community that lives life together is powerful. Every one of you are important you are a living testimony for God. And when we do life together, it also opens our friends' heart to God when they step into TiVo. So let's be a community where our friends can find awe and encounter God through us. So just to recap, how can we experience awe in God in our lives? Number 1, be present. Number 2, be active in connecting to God. And number 3, be a part of God's community.